Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the CBC and Alkira joint event for Everything Cloud. If this is a normal event place, we'll be hearing a round of applause right now. However, we are on this virtual platform, and just like to have our attendees and audience, if you can just type in the word cloud, CLOUD, just as a support for this event, if you can just type in the word cloud, CLOUD. While you're typing that, my name is Andy Yeo, and I'm the head of sales from CBC. Today, I'll be your host. For those who knows me well, I like to tell stories, and sometimes some of my Hong Kong friends even say that I can be a bit chong hei. But bear with me for a while before we kickstart this event for everybody. When I first started my telco career, which was about 20 years ago, the word cloud literally means the clouds in the sky. Those were the days where, as a young, energetic telco sales, we were out there doing data center tour, right? We don't even know what the word cloud means. Bringing my customers on data center tour was actually quite part of a regular routine. And if my memory serves me well, I think the word cloud started hitting the enterprise space about 10 years ago. And recently, IBM did a study. After a decade of adoption, only about 20% of enterprise have actually resources in the cloud. And today, what we see, and again, according to the IBM research, we have new research have actually shown that 94% of enterprise is actually looking and moving towards a multi-cloud strategy. Therefore, we're here today to discuss how you can connect your users, your customers, your ecosystems into the cloud. And on top of that, how do you build and leverage on this multi-cloud strategy that you're building with optimization on your cloud spend? We have here with us today our distinguished audience, all of you, and some of you are our customers, and we sincerely thank you for the trust and support for these many years. Many of you are also veterans and experts from different types of industry, and we look forward to the dialogues and questions that might take place later on together with the panel. And now please allow me to introduce the speakers and panel for today. We have Mr. Richard Fong, who is the founder and CEO of CBC, Mr. Amir Khan, who is the founder and CEO of Alkira. Amir was also the founder of Viptela, and hence a well-known figure in our industry. Most importantly, we are so happy to have our customer in the panel with us today, Mr. Liu Liu, who is the CTO of Dentsu International and is walking the technology journey with us. Next, we have Mr. Manan Shah, who is the head of products in Alkira, Ms. Meng Yao, who is our Chief Customer Officer of CBC, Ms. Hu Shu Yi, who is the Vice President of Products and Marketing in CBC. And bear with me just for a few more seconds while I show you the agenda for today. The first opening statement will be by Ms. Ming Yao, which will be a welcome statement by her, and we will follow by a panel discussion moderated by Sri Narayanan. Also, there will be a presentation by Ms. Ho Shui with regards to CBC and secure SD-WAN, followed by a presentation by Mr. Manan Shah around the future of building multi-cloud networking. And then it's back to me for another storytelling session where I will wrap up with the key takeaway. And now, please allow me to present to you Ms. Ming Yao, Chief Customer Officer of CBC.
Thank you, Andy. On behalf of CBC and Alkira, I'd like to thank all of you and welcome all of you to this very special webinar that we have jointly organized and now having with Alkira. I'm so thrilled to see such a fantastic sign up from all of you today, and once again, a very big thank you. I'm seeing many familiar names, and I wish I could see you in person and say I can see many familiar faces. I hope one day I can say that, and very soon too. Many of you here today are our customers, very close partners and friends. Just walking down the memory lane a bit, CBC was established in 2008 in Beijing, China. We are a fully licensed information communications technology, ICT, provider, as well as value-added services provider in China. We are funded by China Broadband Capital. We had our humble beginnings. We focused on creating value, helping our customers to solve their challenges. And with our innovative technologies, coupled with our customer-first culture, to delight our customers, and a very, very strong and experienced team who goes the extra mile all the time. Now, fast forward 12 years later, now 2020, while keeping our core values intact, CBC is now, I'm proud to say, a leading ICT and technology service provider in the Asia-Pac region. We are serving many Fortune 500 global MNCs in China as well as outside of China, with our highly reliable network communication services, cloud networking services, and innovative solutions such as our in-house developed software-defined wide area network, CBC eNet Connect, helping many customers, enterprise customers, partners to help their customers solve their problems in China, outside of China, connecting them effectively, efficiently, very cost efficient most of the time, to run their businesses operations in China, as well as connecting them beyond China. As we navigate through our growth journey, and now COVID-19 has impacted the way we live and conduct our businesses, we believe by fostering strong partnerships, close collaborations with companies with the same mindset and DNA is a very critical path to our collaborative success in serving our customer needs that is ever changing. Today, we are very proud to announce that CBC and Alkira has officially entered into a strategic partnership to serve our customers in the Asia-Pac region. Together, we believe we will be able to help our customers to serve customers in terms of the cloud networking arena in just a few clicks away, providing the solutions as a service. Yes, you got it, in just a few clicks. And you got it too, network as a service. For everything cloud, or Andy says it nicely just now, his story, that's the theme for today. We hope to engage you with many even innovative ideas, approaches, and solutions for your cloud networking today and beyond today. We are very honored and privileged to have our distinguished panelists coming from different parts of the world, sharing their views, insights, experiences, and future outlook in the cloud networking and network as a service arena. Very special appreciation to our panelists, Mr. Leo Liu, Chief Technology Officer of Dentsu International Asia Pac, based in Hong Kong right now, Mr. Amir Khan, President, CEO, and founder of Alkira in the US right now, and last but not least, our very own Mr. Richard Fang, CEO and co-founder of China Broadband Communications, or CBC, all the way in Beijing, China. A very special shout out to Shu Yi, Jackie, Manan, Sri, Andy, and the whole team that has supported us, and especially you who actually make this day a very special day indeed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the webinar. Do connect with me on LinkedIn and stay in touch, and please stay safe. This is Ming Yao, Chief Customer Officer of China Broadband Communications. Thank you, and signing off. Andy, over to you.
Thank you, Ming. Thank you, Ming, for the welcome statement. And now I would like to hand it over to Sri Narayanan to start the session of the panel discussion. Sri, over to you.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning to all our attendees from the Asia-Pac region. And for those of us joining us in North America, good evening. We're glad you can join us during your dinner this evening. Welcome to the For Everything Cloud webinar brought to you by China Broadband Communications and Alkira. My name is Sri Narayanan, former editor of CIO Asia and industry commentator, and your moderator for the panel discussion today. So what does it mean to say For Everything Cloud? If the events of 2020 are any indication, the debate over whether companies should or shouldn't migrate to the cloud is well and truly over. In the last 10 months, the cloud has truly been an enabler of business survival, business innovation, a catalyst for accelerated digital transformation, and an engine for growth for many organizations. But such widespread adoption and acceptance poses significant challenges. And that brings us to our first topic for the panel today. Can we have the question, the first slide, please? Okay. So a recent study, as alluded to by Andy earlier in the opening, found that most enterprises are only 20% of the way in their cloud journeys. What do you think is holding enterprises from moving the remaining 80% into the cloud? Now, just to give a little bit more context, the 20% represents the simplest, least complicated workloads within the organization that they could migrate to the cloud. So I thought to start off our discussion, I'd like to invite Leo, Chief Technology Officer of Dentsu International, to maybe comment from the perspective of enterprises why this might be so. Leo, what's your thoughts? I mean, 20% sounds to me as a very intriguing statistic. Given that the past decade we've talked a lot about cloud computing, and we've experimented. There's been a lot of education around it. It seems rather odd that only 20% seem to have, they've only migrated 20% of their workloads. What's your thoughts from a customer perspective?
Sure. Thanks, sir. Yeah, so based on my observation, of course, there are many factors, but there are three key factors, in my opinion. One is really cost, and the second one, skills, and the third one, compliance. So on the cost side, what I meant is that many enterprises have pressure to optimize IT costs, especially this year. While cloud provides good total cost advantage, however, the OpEx can sometimes be higher than the CapEx in the short term. And on the skill side, many enterprises do not really have the in-house expertise to modernize legacy applications and also complete a low-level design for cloud migration. Right. And on the third one, the compliance side, so cybersecurity laws, PII data protection, financial regulations can be really complicated and very dynamic as well for enterprise operating in multiple countries. So I think those are the three key reasons why it's kind of holding back the enterprise for adopting clouds in a more accelerated fashion.
Okay, and has that been your experience as well at Dentsu?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Let me just invite Richard over here to come in. What do you think of the statistic? 20% along their cloud journeys. That would mean 80% are still, are waiting to move it. Do you think it's a fair number, Richard?
Probably. I don't have the precise number, but I do see the trend is still towards everything cloud. Okay.
Yeah.
Just echo to what Leo just mentioned. Things were slowing down by a lot of different reasons, but without going to the cloud, I'm seeing a lot of traditional business are having problems with their operations. So I believe they will speed up and they will move to the cloud very soon.
Okay, and Amir, just to get a perspective, there has been some talk about this being a cultural thing as well, but I wonder, across the globe, from your experience, do you think this is true, that about most enterprises about 20% along in their journey, or is it more representative of a certain group of customers? And incidentally, the study was done on 800 CIOs across Fortune 1000 companies.
Right.
Amir?
Thank you for the question, Sri. It depends upon the region also a little bit. Like US, maybe the companies maybe are slightly ahead from the cloud migration perspective, and then closely followed by Europe and Asia. And what we are seeing is that it was quite complicated for the companies to adopt the cloud environment. And for example, one of our customers, Koch Industries, talked about it publicly, that it took them over 18 months to 2 years to adopt a single cloud in their environment to migrate significant portion of their applications to the cloud. And majority of these customers have this planned out now. They want to be in the cloud. The applications are at different stages of migration. Some applications were done for the on-premise environments, and some were done from the beginning for the cloud environments. So we are starting to see an accelerated effort along all organizations.
Okay. And so I would be right to say, I mean, that a significant part of the problem is maybe a skills gap?
It's a skills gap, and also the environments are quite complicated, even though they seem to be easy, but different pieces like the networks in the cloud may not be at par with where customers want them to be seamlessly integrated with their existing infrastructure. So what we are noticing is that cloud compute, storage, applications, and databases are far ahead in adoption, and it's relatively easy to scale them, adopt them, and start using them in the cloud environments. But when it comes down to integrating everything with their hybrid infrastructure, which is on-premise and cloud seamlessly, that's where the issue seems to be bigger.
Right. Okay. That's a good segue for me to the next point we wanted to talk about. Could we just bring up the slide for the next point? One of the big challenges in migrating to the cloud, as I think Amir has also noted, is in integrating the network, your existing network, to the cloud infrastructure, using the internet as its transport, and being able to deliver optimal application performance. Because after all, if you can't get optimal performance from the application, then why move to the cloud? So the question is, how can we help businesses who are in this particular situation mitigate this concern about moving to the cloud, using the internet as the key transport, and still feel that it's a viable solution for them? Richard, what's your perspective on this? I mean, especially using the network and integrating it with the internet. What are the trends you're seeing? What are the developments in that respect, and what are the challenges enterprises are facing there?
Yes, I think this will be the combination of the technologies and the services to help the customer to get a very smooth network experience when they connect to the cloud via internet. So technology-wise, we're seeing a lot of SD-WAN vendors, especially like the box vendors. They're using all kinds of technologies to try to mitigate the problem and improve the internet quality, such as like TCP session optimization, like error correction algorithm. So with that, they will enhance and improve the quality of the broadband internet. And so we are part of this from CBC. Our in-house developed SD-WAN support all these kind of technologies. And more than that, we think so we are doing an extra mile to introduce new concepts to improve the quality of the internet link. So such as we try to there are all different scenarios. Okay, sometimes we want to separate a big pipe into multiple different passes. So to like avoid a big failure on the main path. So, and sometimes we combine different streams to make the transport more efficiently. Okay, and so this is like technology-wise, and we also emphasize from the network services point of view, we want to create a comprehensive network fabrics to our customers. So always complement the internet with a massive layer 2 connections and even 4G, 5G as a backup to make sure the network is always reliable. Okay, we developed the technology to protect especially the key applications and the mission critical destinations. We make sure they are always on the best path. Okay, if it's not internet, then it will be layer 2. We just make sure always these mission critical applications will be on their best path to the destinations. So this also requires our team will understand the customer requirement and help them to design the network, and using the SD-WAN technology, using the intelligence from the network management, we make sure their applications are always on a reliable path.
Okay, all right, thank you. Leo, maybe you could weigh in from a enterprise customer's perspective here. Is Endensu using SD-WAN quite extensively?
Yes, we're using SD-WAN. I wouldn't say extensively, but in different pockets.
Leo? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so we are using SD-WAN. However, we are using it in different pockets, right? I wouldn't say everywhere yet.
Okay. Okay. And what's your experience been with the SLAs? Because Richard was quite right about saying that there is a need for backups and a comprehensive network fabric when you extend your network with the internet. Has that been your experience? A good experience with the SLAs that the vendors have provided for you with SD-WAN?
Yeah, so speaking of SLA, right, it's kind of interesting because 20 years ago when I worked for WebEx, kind of pioneering web conferencing, which we are using today, we innovated a technology called Mediatone, right? So the idea at the time is that this type of technology, right, should really be like a phone, right? So when you pick up the phone, you expect to hear the tone, right? So I think with the advent to agile working anywhere, anytime, any device, and also thanks to COVID accelerating the timeline, the bigger question for enterprise in the future is that what should be the new overall architecture, not just the network layer, right? To really enable agile working and advance to the future enterprise.
Right. Okay. I was thinking out loud that as Richard also mentioned earlier, there are a lot of vendors in the SD-WAN space, and of late we've noticed a lot of companies attempting to integrate SD-WAN on their own. It's a DIY approach, and naturally, it's posed a lot of problems for different organizations. I mean, what are your thoughts about this? If I was an enterprise looking to integrate the internet into my network architecture as part of my cloud journey, is the DIY approach the way to go? Is it viable at all, or is it far too complex a process?
Right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it's not just SD-WAN, right? From what I've seen, even though cloud did bring quite a lot of advantage, right, and advancement, but it also created quite a lot of problems and issues. Now everything as a service, but then there are too many services, right, from too many different vendors, and everyone kind of specialized in one area and assume the enterprise will be able just to kind of put them together as Lego pieces. But in reality, those Lego pieces not really fit very well, right? Because they're made by different vendors, right? So I think moving forward, actually, I see, when we talk about service as everything, that it should be more of a turnkey service rather than, enterprise have to get different pieces from 10, 20 different vendors and trying to figure out what's the most optimal way to kind of put them.
Right. Amir, do you have a perspective on that?
Certainly. When we invented SD-WAN at Viptela, we brought together the MPLS, and an alternate transport was the internet. In some cases, when you needed high SLA type applications, you would use MPLS for that, and you would use high bandwidth type applications with lower SLA, which could tolerate lower SLA. You would use internet in that mix. And we put a fabric together to bring those environments in the mix. And internet was lower cost, MPLS was higher cost, so it's served the customers very well. And now you're starting to see, as Richard was also alluding to it, that people are starting to improve the performance of the internet as well. But now, as we move forward, as you know, the cloud providers are spending a lot of money on their infrastructure. So applications that reside in the cloud, rather than taking them all the way to where they reside in the cloud over the internet, it's much better to utilize the cloud provider backbone. So for that, what we have done is we have created these virtualized constructs called cloud exchange points, which benefit the customer to come into the clouds as quickly as possible, as closely as possible in their region. And as an example, one of our customers has employees in India who were consuming cloud-based instances of compute and storage in the US East Coast. And they were having performance issues over the global infrastructure over MPLS and internet. MPLS was lower performance, but extremely good SLA and good delay characteristics. Internet, on the other hand, was high performance, but high loss and higher jitter. And so when we brought up a backbone on demand for them, for the cloud applications, they benefited significantly on the performance side, and the SLAs were closer to that of MPLS. So we have to utilize the best capabilities of each one of these environments. And the future is as a service. And to date, what we have been doing is stitching things together manually. And what we are trying to do is take it to the next level of automation, where the customer should not have to think about the nitty-gritty details of the underlying infrastructure. They should be able to come in and utilize all the networking capabilities as a service, so that you can adopt multiple environments in a standardized manner, rather than learning about each complexities of each environment.
Right. Okay, that's quite illuminating, and it also raises another point, which leads on to our next question for discussion. Could we have the next question on the screen, please? So, Amir was talking about this just moments ago. Network as a service, or NAS, as we're calling it now, has emerged as a new option. But for enterprises moving to the cloud. But many enterprises are not convinced, and I've seen this myself, that the as a service model will work, will meet their network requirements, right? We've talked a few moments ago about how some workloads are just too complicated, and the skills gap is an issue as well. But just to clarify, since it's a very new thing in the market, could we define what a NAS is and what it's not in particular, and how this actually helps companies? And if we can, maybe let's talk also a little bit about the as a service model, because my understanding is NAS is not completely subscription based in all markets where it's offered. In some cases, it's only certain aspects of the service is offered as a service model. Richard, could you define for us what NAS really represents, what it is and what it's not for companies?
Okay, so I think basically, the NAS to me, it has two folds. Okay, one is people think of as a service, then it's a consuming basis model. So you don't need put in capex, you don't need a long time to set it up. When you need a service, okay, it's there. You swipe your credit card and you choose your bandwidth, and the connection is made. So this is the first level of a network as a service. Okay. So Leo just mentioned a very good point. For the enterprise, they are facing a lot of as a service, but they have to put these puzzles together. That's the big challenge. Okay. So the second level of as a service is we have a strong DevOps team. We really understand, we work hand in hand with the enterprise like Leo's company. So if we understand what they need, and we package everything together with the network and as a service to the customer. Okay, so I give you an example. It's for example, Leo mentioned video conferencing. Okay, so this morning, it took me and my team like 20 minutes to set up, everything, figure out and join the webinar. I knew a company in China, which is my friend's company, doing video conferencing. So we said video conferencing before. Okay, so what they do is really video conferencing as a service. What they did during COVID, okay, in China, they organized like 3,000 different government agencies to join a single video conferencing. So what they need those agencies to do, they just turn on their computer and a video. That's all the customer needs to do. And they centralized control the 3,000 endpoints video conferencing. So this is a as a service model. So we hope with our different technologies and with our DevOps teams to understand what customer really want, we can put together a network as a service. So the customer really only need to focus on their key business and tell us what they want, how much reliability, how much latency they want, and to where. That's all they need to tell me. And we put everything together. We operate for them. That's a true network as a service.
Okay. Are there any limitations you can think of in the existing NAS definition or model? Does it apply to any organization? Are there certain challenges?
Yeah, I mean, this is our goal. I mean, it's the no boundary. So we go as far as the customer wants us to go. Okay. And that's why we're working with Kira. So we are doing the traditional network fabrics, and they are doing the cloud-to-cloud connects. And so we put them together. There's a complete suite of a network service. So one company cannot do it at all. So there are technology vendors, there are different expertise. And for CBC, we want to combine everything together. We package, we as a service provider to our enterprise customers.
Right. So I mean, following on from what Richard just mentioned, how do you see the NAS model really playing out among existing customers now? Because in a very real sense, we are talking about moving the controls of what is traditionally in-house, to a service provider to run. Right? We had the same discussion over the years with when companies looked at SaaS, right, and giving up some level of control and increasingly leaving it to the cloud providers to manage it for them, or the software service providers to manage it. Is this a concern in an industry or in the IT landscape when networking technology hasn't really evolved until the advent of SDN? Hasn't really evolved very much. We have a lot of legacy infrastructure. It's been like 30 years of very little innovation on the hardware side. So when you look at NAS, what is that? If you were speaking to an enterprise customer, how would you pitch this? I mean, is the control a big issue? Is the cost benefit far outweighing whatever legacy infrastructure they are holding on to? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the most important area that we need to address first is obviously the multiple clouds, right? The adoption and how we accelerate that adoption for the end customer. And so what we have done at Alkira is to build a common infrastructure across all these clouds, and so that we can seamlessly marry that to what Richard was alluding to, is the SD-WAN environments or other environments that exist. So on the cloud side, what you're seeing is that things are evolving from the perspective that a solution needs to be standard across all these environments, and it needs to adapt to the needs of the customer, and it needs to be completely as a service. Right now, if you go to AWS, you do things completely differently. You go to Ali Cloud or Tencent, you do things completely differently. There's no standardization of the networking constructs, and the limitations and capabilities are completely different. So we have built the infrastructure which spans across all these cloud environments, which seamlessly interconnects into your SD-WAN environments and also your data centers and remote users at the same time, and also allows you to deploy the higher layer services on demand in an elastic manner. So as requirements for firewalls grow, it expands, and it shrinks when your requirements go away. So essentially what that boils down to is that there's no software or hardware to ship. You can consume networking for the first time in the networking history, industry's history, completely as a service in the cloud model, where you pay for whatever you use and you stop paying as soon as you stop using it. So that's a major shift in the networking industry, and we hope to transform the whole networking industry over time in that direction.
Right, excellent. And coming back to you, Leo, what does this sound like to you? I mean, as a customer, NAS offers obviously some curious benefits. Is that something you might be looking at? Is this something appealing to enterprise customers, you think?
Yeah, short answer, yes. So when I worked at Cisco about almost 15 years ago, the CEO at the time, John Chambers, already foresee the advancement to everything as a service. I think we're kind of halfway through right now, and this is really just a matter of time. And coming back from the enterprise perspective, I think with the advent of 5G, IoT, AI, which is already here, there's an imminent urgency for enterprise to advance from IT to DT, right? What I meant by that is, we are starting from information technology, right? Computerization, right? To now digital era, right? So the analogy I make is that we go from Stone Age to knife and to guns, and now we are going to tomahawk, right? Smart missiles. And it's a very different world, right? That we're into. Very exciting time, but I think because it's new, right? So I think more trial and error will be required to advance to the so-called never before.
Okay. Thanks for that. I think, we have a question. I think maybe this might be an opportunity to just address it. This is for Richard. The question is, you gave the example of a video conferencing as a service company, which is a very simple service. In an organization, things are more complex. For example, application hosting in the cloud, on-premise and firewall rules, backup and requirements. How do you address those concerns? Richard?
So that's why. So what we try to be is to be a integrator of all different services. So we're building security into our SD-WAN. We're building video conferencing service into our SD-WAN, and we're building multi-cloud connect into our SD-WAN. So we are packaging all these features, and at the same time, we are extend our peering with all major ISPs in the world. We are building our extensive layer 2 infrastructures with this big network fabrics and the applications together. We package that. So, and after all, we want to listen to our customers. What their pinpoint what they really need. So our DevOps teams can develop a solution, a comprehensive solution as a service. So this is our approach.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. I just wanted to, address the issue also of security, because, particularly since we talked about video conferencing as an example, this year we've seen issues with encryption and malware and other issues as companies accelerated into the cloud because of COVID-19. In the context of deploying SD-WAN, there's been a lot of talk about a zero trust network, right? And how does this really impact network security in the enterprise? And in particular, since since SD-WAN was introduced into the market, there's been a consistent message about security, whether it's the underlay or overlay, the granular visibility of the traffic going in and out, and therefore assuring customers that the connections are secure. But having said that, there is a sense now that security is still, an area where companies are, I guess, still nervous about. So the zero trust network is a model that I think is relatively new in the sense of, the cloud and what we are doing with SD-WAN. Richard, there's been some talk here about, I believe it's called SASE as well. What are your thoughts about security on the SD-WAN and this whole thing around zero trust network? What are enterprises? What can they expect?
I think the whole concept came up because the networking environment we're in today is far more complex than before. Okay, especially we have all these mobile users, we have all these smart devices, and also IoTs. Okay, so they are everywhere. They are at home, in the office, and in the cloud. And like before, the enterprise only worry about their boundaries. Okay, they build a strong firewall, antivirus to protect their office, to protect their key data centers, and with encrypted VPN to connect each other. Okay, they're fine. But now with all these multiple devices and all kind of networking scenarios, so you never know where the loophole is. Okay, it can go through the 5G through a mobile phone and to compromise the whole security system. That's how the zero trust network came in. Okay, and I think it will work nicely with SD-WAN because the technology we're currently developing is we're building zero trust at a network level, at a network layer, combined with our SD-WAN device.
Right.
So what it does is every request, so we will issue for those users, the legitimate users, a certificate. Okay, so every time when a user initiates any request, no matter it's within the organization, within the firewall, or somewhere in the cloud, or he's at home on the road, through every network. So they have to use their current IP address and plus the certificate and to do the authentication. Then they will be able to obtain the IP address of the destination. Otherwise, they don't even see the IP address of the destinations. So it's hidden to hackers. So this is some sort of zero trust model we're simply building at network layer. I know a lot of vendors, they are developing different technologies to enable the zero trust network, but I think this is essential for the future, given the complex network environment.
Okay, thank you for that. I mean, your thoughts on that as far as security is concerned, especially in a multi-cloud reality.
Right. Mm-hmm. So certainly, I mean, what we are trying to do to help out the customers, in addition to what Richard said, is to create completely secure and on-demand environments where customers could bring in the firewalls and other security capabilities on demand. So let's say you have an SD-WAN environment, you should be able to seamlessly tie it into the cloud so that your network functions can reside in the cloud, because cloud is the new edge, right? So you bring in the traffic over SD-WAN into these regional locations, and because you have to identify who is coming in, make sure that you have strong security in who you allow inside, whether it's a remote user or a mobile user, or whether it's your branches or data centers or the cloud environments. So your security vulnerabilities are at there are multiple attack vectors now, right? So we have to secure them at different locations. And what we have noticed is that it's just like when you have roads and railroads, you have many points of attack. But if you don't allow anybody to get off, and they're only coming in through the airplanes to the hubs into your environment, then you have centralized locations where you can have very strict security measures, right? So what we are doing is creating these virtualized environments where you can centrally distribute security, right? So it's regionally distributed security. And that's where, we are working with CBC also to partner with them to make sure that the overall integration of these existing environments like SD-WAN and the cloud environments, they come together to offer a very strong solution to the industry.
So it doesn't matter really, I mean, if you're consuming the public clouds, working with AWS or Azure, you can centrally manage that security.
Yes, and that's the beauty of the solutions, like what we are bringing to the table, is that on demand, you can spin up security, and you also have very strong intent-based policy controls, which can steer the traffic. Let's say you are under attack. You can, with a click of a button, decide that I need to take this traffic through a different security point now, right? So it's very powerful mechanisms coming, because the way we do networking is moving from, the hardware-based, to software-based solutions, both in and outside of the cloud.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And Leo, just to wrap up the point, from an enterprise perspective, security is always such a big issue. It's the elephant in the room all the time. And as we move to the cloud over the last couple of years and integrated SD-WAN into the networks and stuff, I'm sure there has been a lot of debate internally about how do we put this all together with existing security services, right? So how have you worked around this issue with SD-WAN security from an enterprise customer perspective, while looking at the overall security infrastructure for your organization?
Yeah, I think the short answer is that no matter how much you secure, right, that there's always risk that somebody might somehow, right, get in, right, and how we mitigate risk, right, by isolations, right. I think that's the whole point about zero trust, rather than just a simple firewall, right, and also kind of two trust, right. You put another firewall around it, right. It's just never enough, right. I think the isolation at the network level, right, if the hacker cannot get to the servers directly, then we kind of minimize the risk, but still the risk is still there. So I think it's very important that enterprise, we have a monitoring, right, in place. So we get alerts of any abnormal, right, data or behaviors, that potential threats in the network. And at the last, right, is to the ability to quickly respond, right. It will always happen. It's just a matter of time. But once it happens, that how fast can we respond, right, and block off, right, the threat. I think those are the areas I think for enterprise are really care about.
Okay. And with that, I want to thank all of you. I think we've just about run out of time for our panel discussion. I think it was very, very fruitful discussion. There's a sense now of, at least from my perspective, some optimism about moving forward into the cloud with a lot of the different issues being addressed. Again, I want to thank Richard Amir and Leo for a very frank and very open discussion. Thank you, gentlemen. Right.
Thank you.
So,
you.
ladies and gentlemen, I'll hand you over now to Andy for the next segment in today's webinar. Andy?
Thank you, Sri. And thank you to the panel. Wow, that was a very good and interesting and open discussion. I like the example of the railway by Amir. And now, without further ado, I shall introduce to Ms. Ho Shui, our Vice President for Marketing and Product. She will be taking you on a journey with us on SD-WAN and building an agile, secure, and cloud-oriented network. Shui, over to you.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you everybody for joining us on this Friday morning. We're certainly very encouraged by the number of people that are joining us this morning. So in the next 20 minutes, I'll be sharing with you how we can use SD-WAN to help enterprises adopt cloud in a more seamless manner, as well as I will share with you some of the key highlights of our secure SD-WAN solution. So first, let's take a look at what's happening in the region in terms of cloud adoption. So definitely in Asia Pacific, we are seeing that the adoption of cloud is projected to grow at about 100% in 5 years. However, I think at this stage, I think just now in the panel, you have also here, right, there are a lot of challenges in adopting cloud, and the penetration for cloud is very low at 20%. So in China alone, the figure is very phenomenal. It is growing at a rate of 64%, which is double that of the global rate of growth in terms of cloud adoption. So certainly a very interesting market in terms of opportunities to adopt cloud for enterprises. So let's take a look at some of the key drivers of cloud. So one of the key drivers would be the digital transformation initiatives of a lot of organizations today, as well as smart city initiatives. So developing countries in this region are also adopting cloud, starting to adopt cloud in a very fast manner. We also have regional startups offering innovative solutions. Revenue growth, companies looking for revenue growth, as well as cost initiatives leveraging cloud. And last but not least, I think the COVID-19 has also accelerated cloud adoption in many ways. Yeah, and the challenges mentioned by Leo just now, I think we have seen some of them. It can be both technical as well as non-technical. Technical in the sense from the connectivity perspective, right? How do we connect to the cloud, and how are the challenges companies are facing in terms of the legacy network infrastructure, lack of visibility and control as the traffic goes into the internet and into the cloud. And of course, last but not least, security concerns that we talked about just now on the zero trust network topic. So lack of skill set is also one of the key reasons why the adoption of cloud is very slow, as well as the last point here, which is the lack of cost control in terms of cloud consumption model. So with this, I think what we are putting down here is a few suggestions of the key considerations for enterprises who are in the early stage of cloud adoption, right? So which are the areas that you should be thinking about from the network perspective? So the first three considerations here are actually related to how do we connect users to the cloud effectively and efficiently. Richard talks about network as a service, combining different components of applications, services together. So that demands for a new type of network. And I think the first thing that enterprises should do is to take a hard look at the design of their network and determine whether there's a need to redesign and re-architect the network, leveraging new technologies like software-defined WAN. The next step, they can actually look at how to improve the cloud experience, because with visibility, right, with SD-WAN, they can look at what kind of experience their user is experiencing, accessing the cloud. And of course, the third is to always design and integrate with security in mind. So as cloud adoption grows for a particular company, he can also consider adopting multiple clouds so that he the company would not be relying on a single cloud for cloud consumption. So you can consider multi-cloud as well as multi-cloud networking. Last but not least would be how to optimize cloud expenses. So I think these are a few simple steps as a framework that an enterprise can look at. Let me move on to the next slide. Sorry about the technical view. Yeah, so the first part that I'll be covering on would be on SD-WAN. So why is SD-WAN critical to cloud adoption, and how can it be a key enabler of cloud? If you look at the traditional architecture, right, it is almost a bottleneck for accessing cloud because all the traffic are backhauled to a data center. And definitely it adds on to the latency of users in the branches trying to connect to a SaaS application, let's say. So companies that we meet nowadays, they are migrating to a more distributed architecture whereby every branch office is breaking out into the internet and accessing to the cloud. And I think that's where a lot of complexity come into the picture, because you have to, everything seems to go out of control, right? You have traffic going into internet without visibility, going to the cloud, and you have traffic like Zoom or Luck in China, all the work productivity tools, not able to perform properly under a distributed environment, which is leveraging a lot on internet. So that's where SD-WAN fits in nicely here into the solution. It is able to virtualize the enterprise network, thereby creating a unified fabric for the organization, different sites of organizations to be connected to. And it will be easy for IT to deploy different types of policies consistently across all the different sites. SD-WAN can also help to enable network automation. You'll be able to direct traffic with network policies automatically based on the applications and based on the performance of the path. So we talk about security a lot, and with SD-WAN, basically in a SASE type of architecture, right, we are able to integrate security into the network, into the first point of entry of the corporate user. Last but not least, I think it makes network cloud ready with all the easy management and all the network visibility. But again, however, with all the new technologies coming in with SD-WAN capabilities, there are some of the pitfalls that we have seen in the market and in some of the deployment around the world. So one of the key pitfall is neglecting the issues of the internet. So by deploying boxes just at the end will not solve any underlying quality problems of the internet. And that was what Richard has mentioned before. Whereby we need to be able to optimize the underlying network in order to have a complete solution for our customers. Because we are dealing with a region which has multiple providers. In China alone, there are many ISP providers with varying SLA. And in Asia alone, I think the number of providers and the number of internet service level types will be very daunting. So the lack of understanding of peering strength, peering bottlenecks, or cloud regions, all these are key areas to consider for companies that are going to leverage or migrate to SD-WAN and cloud. Yeah, so here, I think here is some of the key highlights that I would like to share with you with regards to our secure SD-WAN service. We call it the eNett Connect. It will help enterprises build an agile, secure, and cloud-oriented network. There are a few components that I would like to introduce to you here. The first is SD-WAN itself. If you look at SD-WAN itself, these are the various features and benefits that will be provided by SD-WAN, including centralized management, zero-touch provisioning, quick deployment, path selections, selecting path based on the type of traffic that we are having and the type of applications, and a universal CPE, where we have by default added in a 4G backup so that we can provide a very high level of service for our customers. And of course, we have also DevOps, our DevOps team have also provided a service portal for the customer, which is able to allow them visibility of their traffic over the different underlying networks, as well as cloud and internet path visualization. So these are all integrated as a service for the customer on the SD-WAN platform. And next, I think the key differentiator for our product, as Richard has mentioned, is the SD-WAN underlay. So this is very interesting because a lot of times enterprises using SD-WAN, right, would still hit quality issues. And by integrating our SD-WAN underlay, we are able to optimize and resolve all the challenges of the underlying network issues. So this SD-WAN underlay is really built upon CBC's advanced IP backbone. Let me go to the next slide to give you some high-level introduction to the CBC IP backbone. We have a coverage of nearly 90% of business cities in China. Beyond China, we are leveraging the public clouds to build this CBC SD-WAN underlay fabric. And really, I think the concept of this SD-WAN underlay is that it will be able to provide a high-performance, congestion-free, fully paired with all the global Tier 1 and China Tier 1 players. So with this, we hope to be able to optimize and provide the highest level of service with a combined SD-WAN platform. So optimization service solutions here that we provide to customer today include site-to-site connection. We call it the hybrid connect. Optimized SaaS accesses to Office 365, accesses to Salesforce. We call it the Express IP. The platform is also seamlessly connected to different clouds and multi-cloud networking. And last but not least, the security component. We have seamlessly integrated some of the security features, including UTM features. This is able to defend us, the enterprises, against all the attacks, ransomwares of up to 3 million viruses globally and in China itself. We also offer a secure DNS service, which is able to prevent and control access for corporations to malicious site and classified sites. And of course, we have remote SSL VPN solution for our customers, which is riding on the same secure and optimized platform as well. So let me go into some of the use cases to explain the concept of our SD-WAN solution in more detail. So the first is a user that is, I think this was back in January, February time during the start of COVID-19. In China, this is a global enterprise, and they have came to CBC and said that they are facing a lot of challenges in terms of users in China trying to access Azure or Office 365 from their home, because they have to work from home then. And at that time, they are experiencing packet loss of up to 20%. So what we have done here is that we have provided them our secure eNett solution together with our SSL VPN solution. The performance is very much improved with a packet loss of less than 1%, and we have installed this for 350 employees across 3 cities in China. Yeah, these are some of the performance metrics. You can see that this is the normal internet that they have used, and using our internet, that we are able to reduce the latency for them, as well as reducing the packet loss from 4% to 0%, nearly 0% here. So the second use case is for a US-based software company who wants to connect AWS in China and to US. So in this solution, they are facing a lot of challenges in terms of experiencing high packet loss and latency between the 2 AWS regions. Direct connect is out of the question because it can be too expensive for them in China. So we have provided them this solution on our eNett Connect platform, which we can connect and build elastic cloud routers into the customer's VPCs, so that once they hop onto our fabric here, they are able to have a very much improved performance of connecting both the AWS in the 2 different regions. So here's a note to mention also that in our solution, we are actually fully connected to, in China, to all the top 3 clouds, in fact, all the top public clouds, including Alibaba Cloud, which is 46% of the market, Tencent Cloud, 17% of the market. And globally, we are also connected to top public clouds like AWS, Ali Cloud and Azure. Now, the third use case here sort of sums up everything together. Basically, it is from the perspective of a multi-regional and multinational company, what they will need to deploy a regional cost-effective SD-WAN fabric, achieving both security targets that they need, a secure and optimized connections between sites and into the public clouds and into SaaS. So first, we deployed a low-cost site-to-site connection for this customer because they would want to move away from MPLS. And deploying this actually makes sure that their connection is secure as well as having high performance. We also extend their network into the AWS cloud via the eNett fabric. And thirdly, we have enabled their users to have an optimized access to Office 365 and Azure outside of China. Fourthly, if you look at all the orange boxes here, these are all the security UTM boxes that are, not boxes, appliances that are integrated into the network, whether into the network or into the UCPE, depending on the construct of the customer design. So we have been able to deploy different types of antivirus security UTM services for this customer. And last but not least, remote users are also be able to join the same fabric and enjoy the same features and services as if they are working from the office. Yeah, so this is in a nutshell. So I guess this is one of the key takeaways, and which is, as Richard mentioned, network as a service. Consider CBC as your partner in your cloud migration journey. So it is the same journey that I mentioned earlier. But I think here what we are saying is that we have all the different services and the different products that we are able to support you with in your cloud migration journey. As your cloud journey grows, I think that is the time when I can hand over to Manan to talk about how to simplify your multi-cloud networking. With that, I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Shui, for an interesting presentation. We will now hand over very quickly to Mr. Manan Shah from Alkira with his sharing of the multi-cloud strategy by Alkira Networking. Manan, over to you. Thank you very much. Manan, your mic could be on mute.
Hello, thank you. So for folks who don't know me, first of all, good morning in the APAC region, and for folks who are joining from somewhere else in Europe or other places in the world, happy day. My name is Manan Shah. I'm head of products for Alkira, and I'm going to talk about the future of multi-cloud networking. I think we had a great panel discussion with all of the panelists having a very candid discussion. So I'm going to add more details on that, and I'm going to go through my slides. So a little bit of history around about Alkira. Alkira is a startup based in Silicon Valley, and we started the company in May of 2018. So far, we have raised $76 million in funding from some of the top venture capital firms, Sequoia Capital, Klein Perkins, Google Ventures, and a corporate investor in Koch Disruptive Technologies. We have been working with customers since 2019, even before we launched the company, and customers have been trying out our service and giving us a lot of positive feedback around what we call network cloud. And we launched the company and the product on April 15, 2020. And I'm very pleased to say that we have some of the largest Fortune 50 customers as our customers in production. And I'll talk about what network cloud means and how it can help. So before I talk about what Alkira provides, let me set some background on what we see and what we hear when we talk to the enterprises. And I think you already heard a lot from the panelists. Essentially, what is happening is, as you can see here, if I want to open an AWS or Azure or a Google or any cloud account and deploy my first app, it probably takes me a handful of minutes, probably 15 minutes, and I can have my first app running. It has all of the characteristics that you would imagine with the cloud. Time to service, agility, on-demand nature. I can dynamically scale up and scale down, and I only pay for what I consume. Whereas if you look at the networking side, you'll see it's almost like an anti-pattern for cloud. A lot of customers go different routes. Some folks go in a co-location facility, and it is very time consuming to set everything up. It's very CapEx intensive. So there is a true need for disrupting the network. And I think the theme of the day is consuming it as a service. And that's when we decided to partner with CBC. Alkira and CBC together can bring to you a network as a service, a true network as a service with all of the capabilities that you would imagine from a cloud. So what is network cloud? So we talked about Alkira is delivering network cloud. So at the highest level, I call network cloud as a unified network infrastructure, which is delivered as a service. There are typically three major components to what we call network cloud. The first one is on-demand, hybrid, and multi-cloud connectivity. I mean, we live in a world where there are data centers. They're not going away anytime soon. There are branches, campuses, and remote users. I may be in a coffee shop and I may need to access some of the most critical resources. How do I get in? How do I access them? What policies and permissions do I need to get there? That is what we call on-demand, hybrid, and multi-cloud network connectivity. And as enterprises go to this multi-cloud journey, how do we make it easy and abstracted? I think Shui made a great point that one of the big challenges that is in the industry today is a lack of skill set. If I go and talk to an average enterprise and ask them how many people really know about two clouds from networking and security, it is very few people in the enterprise. So that's what the first point around networking and multi-cloud connectivity. The second is network services. As more and more workloads go into the cloud, do I need to deploy my network services only in my data center, or do I need to deploy in the cloud? And do I need to deploy in one cloud or a second cloud or a third cloud? Can I deploy it in a cloud agnostic manner? And that is where Alkira comes in with this network cloud solution, where you have integrated network services like firewalls, load balancers, and whatever you need. And you can dynamically insert them at any time in any traffic path to inspect the traffic. And the third piece, which is extremely important as well, is visibility and governance. You need to have deep insight into the network, whether it's on the on-prem side, whether it's in the WAN, whether it's in the cloud, and have the controls and governance around it so that you can easily control what you need to do and control how the traffic flows through your network. So Alkira delivers all of this through a service called Cloud Services Exchange. The Cloud Services Exchange has two main components. One is what you see on the top right of the slide. It is called the Alkira CSX Portal. This comes in three form factors: the intuitive user interface, APIs, and SDKs. For example, if you are a cloud admin wanting to deploy your application using Terraform, then we provide a Terraform provider so that you can integrate your app deployment and networking into one set of automation. So it's again APIs, SDKs, and an intuitive user interface. The second piece is what we call Cloud Exchange Point, and that is the 6 hexagons that you see in the middle of the slide. Each hexagon is called the Cloud Exchange Point. It's a purpose-built network stack which provides you connectivity, visibility, and network services insertion. So in each of the cloud exchange point, you can connect your branches, campuses, data center, SD-WAN, co-location facilities, everything into your nearest cloud exchange point. So if I'm sitting in China, I will connect to a cloud exchange point somewhere close by. If I'm sitting in US, I'll connect to a cloud exchange point in US, which is near to my location. Same concept with cloud workloads, right? If I'm in AWS, Azure, Google, Ali Cloud, Tencent Cloud, Oracle, what have you, I will connect to the nearest cloud exchange point. And that is very easy in a point-and-click intuitive design canvas that we deliver to the customers. And then you attach the network services and decide through an intuitive policy that kind of controls how the traffic flows through that fabric. And all of these cloud exchange points form a network backbone, which is also offered as a service. And the cloud backbone as a service is a low latency, high throughput backbone that you can leverage across the globe in a multi-segment, multi-region model. So from an end user perspective, it is extremely simple. We abstracted all of the complexity and brought in dramatic simplicity for the enterprise. As an enterprise, you would go to either a CBC, go through CBC, or come directly through a Alkira portal with the help of CBC organization and register for the service. Once you register for the service, you have a design canvas on which you can point and click and draw out your network and network services. And once you design the network and network services, you will click on a provision button, and in less than 1 hour, you get your multi-segment, multi-region, multi-cloud, multiple on-prem technology-based network that is up and running. So something that you would take 6 to 18 months to deliver, now you can deliver it in less than 1 hour to your businesses. That's the level of simplicity that Alkira delivers to its customers. So I'll walk you through a quick customer journey, and we have had multiple customers that have gone through this journey. I'll just pick one example of what we have seen typically customers do. So typically when we talk to customer, we try to understand what their design requirements were. And in this particular case, they wanted a high throughput public cloud access, public cloud connectivity. They wanted to have secure connectivity as well, because it's going through a public internet. They wanted a secure connectivity. So they were very focused on secure multi-cloud network. They had segmentation in the WAN. And so they wanted to continue to have segmentation for different lines of businesses within the organization in the cloud. They, of course, were a global organization, so they wanted a improved SaaS experience. So they, as Amir was mentioning, they wanted the ability to regionalize hub points, and through that have a secure internet experience and have an improved SaaS performance. And as anyone who's built the network for many, many years, high availability and redundancy are always important. So that was a key component of the requirement. Of course, they wanted easy visibility and full control. And they wanted to make sure the network remains simple and doesn't overcomplicate as they go to this multi-cloud model. So with all of these requirements, this is how the network looked like before they adopted Alkira. They had multiple data centers across the globe, and then they started building these co-location facilities. In each of these co-location facilities, first of all, you need to get the facility, you need to get a cage. Inside of that, you need to get a rack, and then you would buy switches, routers, firewalls, security equipment, monitoring tools, and build it out. So before you even get your first dollar of return on investment, you would have spent a few $1 million. And that was something that they were not willing to continue doing that as they grew their network and as they go to multiple clouds. It was very reliant on hardware. It was always over provisioned because they wouldn't know what their peak demands would be, and they couldn't easily scale up and scale down. It literally took them months and months to do this and millions of dollars before they got any return. So with Alkira, what they did is they essentially decided to deploy the service in 3 locations within the US to begin with, and then they wanted to expand to other regions. So they picked something in US East, US Central, and US West. And this is what you see, the hexagons in the middle, and they would carry the segmentation and from on-prem to WAN to cloud. And then they use multiple different technologies to come into Alkira. So they had a regionalized SD-WAN deployment through which they would connect all of their branches with multiple segments into the CXP on the US West. And then they had branches coming in, including some partners coming into using the standards-based IPsec technology into the CXP Central. And their data centers were more on the East Coast. So they would essentially come in through the data center through a direct connect into the CXP East. And also they had some branches that were on MPLS only. So those MPLS only branches would connect to data centers, and through data centers would come into the cloud exchange point. And all of these cloud exchange points are, of course, as I mentioned, managed by the CSX portal that controls the entire experience. On the cloud side, they had AWS, Azure, and Google, and they had different workloads. They believed in democratizing the developer community, and they would really allow their developers to deploy applications in any cloud of their choice. And so as a network team, it becomes very important to facilitate that and allow the developers to deploy the application and connect them as and when it's needed, for however long it's needed. And they would only pay for how much ever they consume and for however long they consume. So that was very important to them. So with this solution, they essentially were able to get full visibility, full control, and they can decide which application goes into which segment and how it will get controlled. And they would also be able to control which user traffic would talk to which other parts of the network, whether it's on the application side or on the branch side or on the data center side, all through a single CSX portal. So I would summarize the Alkira journey by saying that going forward, if I can consume Salesforce, Workday, and a variety of SaaS applications for my other parts of the business, enterprises are asking, why can't they consume network as a service? So we see more and more customers asking for networks and broader networking, as well as network services and cloud networks to be consumed as a service. And Alkira Network Cloud essentially provides you that unified infrastructure as a service. Again, 3 key components are on-demand, hybrid, and multi-cloud networks, integrated network and security services, and deep visibility and governance. And just a few highlights here. Gartner recently named Alkira as a cool vendor in 2020. And there are a couple of other awards by CRN on emerging vendors and the 10 hottest startups of 2020. And Alkira also received the IDC Innovator. We would really, really thank you for attending today's session. And thanks to CBC for inviting Alkira for this session. Now I will hand it back to Andy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Manan. And we are coming towards the end of the session, but everyone, please stay on. We have a little surprise for you at the end of the session. If everyone could just join me and give a round of applause to the presenters and to also our panel. It was a very interesting session, even for me as well. I've been doing the rehearsal, obviously, but some of the interesting comments and feedback that was made was really very interesting to me. So again, if you could type in the word cloud, C-L-O-U-D, just as an encouragement and support for our presenters and also our panel, that would be very much appreciated. I'm just going to do a very quick roundup of what I've observed and some key takeaways. At the end of the day, we are doing this for you, our customers, our partner, our ecosystem. Right? Some of these things that were spoken was not plucked from the sky, but rather it was through years of conversation with all of our customers and years of innovation, through some of these innovators coming up from CBC, from Alkira. Based on your feedback, based on your inputs, we come up with new ideas. And what I think we saw today was basically we're looking at the journey of bringing our customers from cloud adoption to the end, as what Shui has mentioned, to the optimization. Right. First of all, we help you to re-architect your network so that it's ready. We call it cloud ready. We can help our customers to basically optimize the internet to the cloud and to the global internet. And yes, I'm going to say that key buzzword again, network as a service, literally just a few clicks away. We can also improve your overall cloud experience, especially in China, from connections to different clouds such as AWS, Ali Cloud, Azure. It doesn't matter whether is it an international cloud or whether is it a more of a Chinese cloud. We basically can connect you up into all these multi-cloud. And also optimizing the performance on Office 365, on different types of SaaS, to make sure that your enterprise, your ecosystem operates as the way you want them to be. We then incorporate security seamlessly into your network as a service. So how do we deploy some of these security features on the SD-WAN fabric so that it is consumed as a service? And also considering the security of your remote users, right, that are connecting in through mobile devices. And after that, we then simplify the multi-cloud networking where we deliver it as a service on demand. Literally, as you know, this is what you've been hearing throughout the whole session, a few clicks away and with visibility on the overlay across public cloud workload. And lastly, I think the most important to many CIO, CFO is how do I then optimize this cloud spend? How do I get this automation of cost management? How do I charge it back to the different countries? How do I charge it back to the different departments? And some exciting innovation that is coming your way. Please watch out for the next webinar. So with that, I would like to now show you our little surprise. Jackie. So CBC Secure SD-WAN product is actually ready for trial. Feel free to contact us via a trial link, via an email. We'll be very happy to help you. And also, at the end of this survey, we would like you to complete a survey and for a chance to win a $25 gift card, complimentary from CBC and Alkira. It's actually an Amazon card that you can use. And with that, I would like to wrap up this session and pretty much thank you everyone for attending, for taking your time to be with us today. We hope that you took away something from the session today, and we really appreciate your support and your business, and we hope to be in more interaction with you in the near future. Thank you very much.